Jagex has finally let us in on what they're currently thinking for raids for rewards, which for nerds like me makes for a very exciting time. I definitely have opinions on everything in this blog, but I wanted to make a video focusing on the Megarare specifically because there is a lot to talk about. So introducing the Tazar Ket Breaker. The name is a mouthful. I honestly hope they change it, but it's whatever. Let's jump right into how this weapon functions. I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, you probably already have a basic understanding of the mechanics, but you might not realize just how busted powerful this thing is. So it features two distinct attack styles, one at a 5-tick attack speed and one at a 3-tick attack speed. The 3-tick one, which they're calling Smash, is basically just an amped up ham joint or swift blade, which is cool, but it's definitely not what gives this weapon its mega rare prestige. The 5-tick attack, or the thrust, is insanely good. And the main reason for this is because it gives accuracy rolls based on how many defensive stats are less than crush defense. This means that for monsters like Araxor or the Nightmare, you are rolling accuracy 7 times because their defensive crush bonus has 6 different styles greater than it. This concept of rerolling for accuracy is not new because we've seen it with the previous raid with Asmumptum's Fang. However, this is just 2 rolls, and it's ridiculous saying just 2 rolls because the Fang is regarded as an extremely powerful weapon because of this mechanic. Now, the Fang is a common unique, whereas this is a mega rare, so it's expected for the Breaker to be powerful and better. But 7 accuracy rolls is completely insane. For example, let's say you're fighting Araxor in max gear with this new weapon. You roll for accuracy 7 times. In those 7 rolls, let's say you hit some random numbers. Most will be average, some might be 0, but there's a pretty high chance that at least one of those numbers will be large. And that number is what you hit. And this whole mechanic makes for a wild hit distribution chart where most of the time you are either hitting your max hit or close to your max hit. And obviously when you're doing that every time you attack with this weapon, your DPS is very, very high. So that's a lot of talk about how this weapon is good in theory, but as I just hinted at a little bit, the proof is in the pudding. So let's look at some numbers. A quick disclaimer beforehand, I am using a fork of the Wiki DPS calculator that includes the Tazar Ket Breaker. This was sent to me by Travis42, shout out. But I actually don't know who made this, so I can't verify exactly how accurate it is. But looking at the hit distribution charts and everything, it all seems relatively spot on in calculating out defenses to provide more rolls. So hopefully the numbers are at least mostly right. I wish I could give direct credit to whoever got this up and running so quickly, but whoever you are, thank you very much. This is sick. So for each of these encounters, I'm going to have 4 main loadouts that I'm comparing against. Breaker with Torva, Breaker with Inquisitor, Scythe on Slash, and Scythe on Crush. I'm assuming max stats and gear with Piety, obviously, and I'll add in Slayer Helms and other obvious gear choices where appropriate. It is also worth noting that the Inquisitor stats here are the post-Summer Sweep-Up stats, so these are calculated with those strength and accuracy buffs in mind. So I just teased Araxor a little bit, so let's start with him. Drumroll, please. Yeah, as expected, the Mega Rare clears the Scythe out of the water on this one, as it should be. So anything, in my opinion, that's weak to Crush should get decimated by this weapon. It is a Mega Rare. So we jump from 13.5 DPS to 17.4 DPS, which is an increase of 29.4%. So Scythe was already cracked here, and the Breaker is obliterating it in terms of damage. I'll also throw in Calcs for if you actually land an Elder Maul spec. You can see here that we're jumping from 14.4 to 18.3 DPS. Seeing 18 in a DPS calc is just insane. It feels like we're playing leagues or something, but this is the main game. It's nuts. The next big crush boss that is probably on people's minds is Fasani's Nightmare. So this is not a Slayer boss, so no Slayer Helm, which means the numbers are slightly lower, but we're seeing an even larger increase here from the old meta. So previous best in slot clocked in at 10.2 DPS, but the Breaker brings this all the way up to 14.8 DPS. this is good for a 45% increase in damage, which is just absolutely bonkers. Again, I do think that the Crush Megarare should be way better than the Slash Megarare for a boss like PNM, but 45% might be a little bit more than I was expecting. It's kind of crazy. So real quick, let's rapid fire through some other Crush bosses. First up, looking at Huecoatl, we see a jump from 12.3 to 16.6 DPS, which is a 34.8% increase. Sarachnis sees a large jump from 11.5 to 15.9 DPS, which is a 37.8% increase. And lastly, Cerberus with your Slayer Helm will jump from 13.9 all the way up to 17.8 DPS, which is a 28.2% increase. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of other bosses that feel similar, but at this point, you get the idea. Crush Weapon hits big on Crush bosses, and I think we can all get on board with that in general. However, what about encounters where the Scythe is the absolute king? What about the Theater of Blood? Let's take it boss by boss and see if the new Megarare shines anywhere. So, starting with Maiden. Maiden has no defensive stats, so the accuracy reroll passive does not happen at all with the Breaker, and this reflects well in the DPS calcs. Scythe is still best in slot here by a wide margin. Also, quick side note, I am reducing all of the boss's defenses in these calcs like you would in a normal TOB. So, for example, Maiden is set at 0 defense here for the numbers. Up next we have Bloat, and even though he is weak to Slash, he still only has 40 Crush defense. And since he has super high Mage and range defense, the Breaker still rolls for accuracy 5 times. Pair this with the relatively low defense level and accuracy of your Salve, and the new Megarare is in fact better than the Scythe, jumping from 14.6 to 16.9 DPS. If you BGS him a 50 to cut his defense in half, the discrepancy gets even larger and gives you a 16.4% increase in damage. Next up is Niloking, and he is pretty much the same story as Maiden. No defensive stats, so no accuracy rerolls, which means Scythe wins out pretty easily. Sotoseg is an interesting one because, surprisingly, his magic defense is actually very low. So Crush defense is only lower than the 3 range styles, meaning there are 4 accuracy rolls in total. However, 4 is still enough to have the Breaker come out on top, raising your DPS from 11.9 to 13.9, which is a 17.3% increase. And even if your hammers don't land, Oathplate is not carrying you. The Breaker still wins by even more, by 19%. Zarpus is just like Sot, where Crush defense is only lower than the range styles, so we have 4 accuracy rolls, but you can usually bring his defense level down to 0. So the Breaker boosts your DPS here from 14.4 to 16.8, which is a 16.2% increase. Lastly, we have the final boss, where Scythe shines its brightest. For P2, Verzik has 60 slash defense and 100 stab and crush defense. Magic defense is also low, so like the last two, we are only rolling 4 times. Only. Sounds ridiculous. Because of the lower slash defense, this is a much tighter race between the two weapons, but believe it or not, the Breaker still comes out on top. Only barely, though, we see an extremely marginal 1.2% DPS increase. And surprisingly, P3 Verzik, we see an even bigger win for the Breaker. And this is because Verzik's magic defense jumps up to 100, while Crush and Stab are at 70 and Slash is at 30. This means we're rolling for accuracy 5 times, and the Breaker clears the Scythe, bringing the DPS from 11.8 to 13.1. This is good for a 10.8% DPS increase. So in short, the Breaker is just flat out more useful at TOB than the Scythe, which is completely wild to say. In my opinion, some adjustments definitely need to be made to make sure that the Scythe continues to shine in places where monsters are designed to be weak to Slash. This issue is not unique to TOB either. Tons of bosses that are designed with Slash in mind see the Breaker heavily outclassing the Scythe. Bardorvis gets a 12.3% increase from it, Soul is a 16.2% increase, and even the Blood Moon, which has 0 slash defense and 100 crush defense, still gets outclassed, even though it's only barely. So I could keep on showing off calcs of every single boss, but you get the gist. The new Megarare is very, very strong, and it should be strong. But in the current state, it would be silly to say that this weapon is anything other than completely and utterly broken. And that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you like these styles of videos. I had a lot of fun calcing everything out, and hopefully you found it digestible and interesting to watch. Until next time, goodbye.